RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.
Hello boys and girls, welcome to the Sports Heads. This is the betting part of the show, sponsored by RedZoneSports.bet. We're going to take a look at some of the games this weekend from a betting perspective, looking at the unders and overs and the handicap lines. And I'm joined today, I'm pleased to say, by Warren Lambias, who is the co-founder of Red Zone Sports. And on the far end of this offensive line, we've got Sam Morgan from The Verge magazine. Gentlemen.
Can I just say, the offensive line, we will be the shortest offensive line, despite the fact that Sam, by the way, has got his seat up so high compared to mine. But yeah.
He thinks that I'm actually slouching.
If you don't behave yourselves, I'm going to kick those boxes away from you.
We're like in barbers' chairs, they will just drop down. So.
Okay, let's take a look. We're going to rattle through these today. The Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. Now, there's a major line move in this week. The Carolina Panthers were two-point favourites, 2.5-point favourites in some places. It's now a pick-em.
Yep, I've switched my pick because Benjamin's gone to the Bills. Cam Newton's not getting a lot of protection anyway and is scrambling around, and he's lost his big wide-out target, which he can hit in an emergency. Although Benjamin was injured quite a lot, I still think that was an out that he's going to be sorely missed for. It's
a strange decision. I found this a really strange decision because you've obviously got Devin Funchess, who's been taking a lot of the, the deep routes, and he's another big target. But it's they're in a win now mode. They're top of the division. They've got every chance of going deep into the playoffs. Shipping out Kelvin Benjamin seemed to me a little bit of a strange move.
Maybe they know a little bit more about his injuries than the rest of us. Do you know what I mean? And as you say, they've got a ready-made replacement. It seemed a surprising one to me. But
I think when the Benjamin, though, the original GM was going to give him a new contract, and then on the turn of that, then all of a sudden it's just completely changed. So someone's found something out there, and they've managed to do the job.
Well, it's also they may also be planning for the future, of course, and if they feel that they've got a replacement, and perhaps they're looking for sort of for the future, some sort of slot receiver as a sort of as a counterbalance. But on this game now that he's gone, I am looking at the Falcons last week. I thought there was some signs of improvement. The offense has started to tick a little bit. They got the running game going, which that made a difference. So I'm going to go. It's a pick'em, and I'm going to go for the Falcons. And I also like the over 43.5 points.
Okay,
so
it's an interesting one. I mean, the Falcons haven't won back-to-back games in Charlotte since 2010-11. They won their last season, so chances are they're probably going to get beat. But I do love their stats. They are looking for a fourth straight win over them, so they've got a little bit of an Indian sign over them. They've been a lot better over the last couple of seasons than the Panthers have. Matt Ryan's confidence, I mean, I don't know if you want to have a talk about that, because it seems, from the Super Bowl last year, he seems to have waned a little bit.
I think the Falcons have just had that little bit of a sort of hangover since then. I think for me, I do like the look of the overs actually as well, but I'd actually go with the Panthers just because Cam's not been in the press this week.
Okay, good point.
So he's not been in the press. He can actually get on with what he's doing, and people might actually just get off his back this week. So
what's interesting about both these teams is that they are that Jekyll and Hyde team, which is 1 week they're going in, the Panthers are going into New England and looking fantastic. Next week they can't barely score a point. Same with Atlanta. We all expect this high octane offense. It's not been there. They didn't score in the second half against Miami, as we said last week. They didn't. They were 7 points against the Pats. Against the Jets, who have surprised on the defense this year. I think they look back to their selves, and so I'm thinking, well,
I think there are a couple of things with Atlanta. Just the fact that they can be bullied. They've got a smallish defense, and they can be bullied. And if they're kept on the field for a long time, they can get worn down. It happened against Miami, who actually are a physical offense, whether people like it or not. Although they've not, the last week or so they were bullied themselves. And I think obviously Steve Sarkisian's come in and taken over Kyle Shanahan's system, and I think he's going to be made the scapegoat because they were scoring 30 odd points, 36 points an average last season, something along those lines. They're scoring about 21.5 points this season, so there's a massive massive drop. They did get Tevin Coleman involved in the game last week, and that was a massive thing. That's one thing we both said last week. They've got to get him involved. They did, and we saw results. But I mean, like you, I looked at this line, the swing, and I think, you know, the money is speaking. And I think it may be an overreaction to Kelvin Benjamin going, but I actually fancy Atlanta in this one.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, next game, Cardinals at the 49ers. This is an interesting one. Sam is a Cardinals fan. They've won 6 of the last 7 meetings, the Cards, including the last 5, but they've never won 6 in San Francisco. Warren, you've gone with.
Well, I said last week
49ers,
when we said who was going to win first, the 49ers or the Browns, I said the 49ers. I think even though with the trade decisions, what's gone on this weekend, even though he's not going to play, I still think it will give a big uplift to the team. I think the Cardinals are in all sorts of trouble, and if you give me 2.5 points at home, a team that is going to win a game, if they're ever going to win a game, the 49ers, it's this game against the Cards. And so 2.5 points, I'll take that. I also like the over 39 points because, okay, we don't know what either team are going to do on offense, but we do sort of have an idea that
stick up for your boys.
The ball's going to be turned over a few times. I think the ball's going to be turned over a few times. Now that might mean that we have a very low-scoring game. But I just feel that the 49ers, they're due a click. I liked what I saw against the Redskins. Obviously, last week they were playing the high-flying Eagles, and never got a chance. But this is a 2 evenly matched teams, I feel.
A lot of energy coming into San Francisco with the Jimmy Garoppolo trade.
Yeah. The reason why I never said Jimmy Garoppolo because I can never say his name properly, so I needed you to say it.
I'm glad he said that.
It was one of those ones where you're going, go on, say his name, so I'm going to say his name. I think that's going to be an uplift. I don't expect him to play, but it's going to give the whole team sort of, okay, this is where we're going. This is the future where we're going. Whereas
it's an energy boost.
Yeah, the Cardinals, okay, they got Adrian Peterson. We saw him at Twickenham. Didn't do anything. Are we going to see the Adrian Peterson from his debut, or are we going to see the Adrian Peterson from the second week? I find the 49ers, I'm packing the box and just, I don't think you're going to be
I'm dying to see what how he's going to stick up for his boys here.
No,
come on, Sam.
So San Fran actually haven't been that good against the run from when I've watched their games, so I think AP might actually have a chance this week, for one. Secondly, the fact that actually, if you watch Stanton when he does come in, he's been with the organisation a long time. Actually, when he does normally come in, he doesn't go for game-winning plays. He's actually pretty good at not actually throwing a turnover. I think when he went into that game at Wembley, I think it was right. I've got to try and make something happen, and then I think he just let the rock go a little bit too soon. So I'm still going to stick with the Cardinals. Okay. I'm
going with the 49ers, and I take them outright as well.
Yeah,
I think you can keep the points. I'm going to take them to win outright. And the other thing is a statistical thing. I love my stats. They've never won 3 straight in San Francisco, the Cards. So
means nothing. Means nothing. Absolutely.
What I will say, I think there'll be plenty of points in this. So I think the overs is definitely one to look at. That's the only thing I will agree with the pair of them on.
Okay, next game, Redskins at the Seattle Seahawks. The Redskins actually have got a fair record in Seattle. There, I'm going to stick the
record
again.
There
he goes. They've won on their last 2 visits. They've only ever lost 3 successive games to Seattle, once in 1994 to 1998. You've gone for the Redskins.
I've gone for the Redskins plus 7 points. The Redskins, I was on the Redskins last week against Dallas, and bar for that excruciating, if you're on the Redskins, turnover on the 1-yard line that goes back, I think that they're in control of that game. I'm feeling very happy with my bet, and I think, they need a win.
I went against you, wasn't it?
Yeah. You went against me on that one. I think I had a better record than you last week.
More than likely.
Sure, yeah.
Nothing changes.
Did you get any last week?
Yeah, he got that one. Yeah. But I was on. Funny enough, I was on the Houston Texans plus the points last week against the Seahawks, and I think it's the same thing. If you're it's going to be hard for Cousins to score on the Seahawks defense, of course, but I still think that 7 points is a high line, and the Skins have got enough about them to be able to keep with the Seahawks, I think. And so I would go back to that thing I said last week, is that Seahawks don't have to win by 7 points. They just want to be in front enough to control the game. And I'm happy with Skins plus 7.
They've got the best scoring defense in the league, Seattle. The best red zone defense. They're holding teams to below a 70 passer rating.
And they've won all their home games so far.
Yeah,
but I think their home games,
place to go.
if you think about their home games, I haven't got the statistic to hand, but I'm pretty sure in those home games, they failed to cover the spread twice out of the 3 home games they've won.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
So you know, these lines, the odds makers are pretty good with these lines. So I think 7 points is
every
is a
time
tad high.
Seattle have beaten Washington at home, they've been by double digits. So that's the way I'm taking it. I'm going to go for the statistical trend as
Well,
always. Sam, who you got?
That's our head-to-head.
I'm going to take that Seahawks bet purely because I think it gave Wilson a bit of a taste last week of what he was all about. I think he might. Not saying he's been missing, but I think we're going to see the Russell
real
Wilson,
Seahawks.
and the real Seahawks. So I'm going to go against you on this one.
That's fine. That's me against the 2 boys. I like that. Okay.
One of my picks now, the LA Rams over the New York Giants. The Giants are, what are they, 3.5-point dogs at home to the Rams. The Rams have lost the last 7 meetings, but they've never lost 4 consecutive trips to New York. So I'm picking the Rams. Who you got?
Does that mean 4 consecutive trips to New York when they're playing either the Jets or the Giants? Or
The
just
Giants.
yeah.
It's just the Giants.
Because it means
it's the
as
Giants.
much, to be quite honest with you.
It's the Giants.
I know you've picked the Rams minus 3.5. I understand completely why you would do that, but I don't know enough about this Giants team. Now they've changed offensive coordinator and he's no longer calling the plays himself. I thought we saw enough about the Giants, obviously, at Denver. I think the Seahawks, they stayed in the game. They've had a bye. So although everything points towards the Rams winning the game and winning easy, you know, despite what happened at Twickenham, I don't think the Rams are a team that's really designed to blow another team out of the water. So I'm not going to touch it. I actually think the Rams will win by more 3.5, and I think it's a good. I understand why you've done the bet.
I mean, if you're looking from
right
a negative point of view, Jared Goff has only completed in the last month, has only completed about 54% of his passes. So that's a negative. But then Todd Gurley, on the other hand, when he's rushed for over 100 yards or more, they're 4-0.
Yeah.
And you've got the Wade Phillips factor. I just think that the Rams defense will cope with whatever the Giants throw.
Were you doing the overs or the unders or that, or you leaving?
I'm going with the overs. I think there'll be a few more points than people think.
What was the overs again? Let me have a look.
42.5.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, maybe.
I'd go under the 42.5 on that game, but I also think that the New York defense are obviously okay, but I just think the offense won't stay on the pitch long enough that they're going to get tired out towards the end. That's the only reason I would probably actually go with the Rams on that one. And for my colleague Andre Dixon, who is actually a Giants fan, however he's caught up a bandwagon team.
I think he's
now picked up the Rams. You're right.
Picked up the Rams.
His bandwagon team is now playing his team. Yeah,
you know those guys you see with the half a shirt? That's Andre Dixon.
Yeah.
So he probably wouldn't touch this bet.
Sorry, Andre, but it's probably more 2 shirts, to be quite honest.
Sorry.
If you know Andre, he's a broad man. So
I didn't say that, Andre.
I said broad, by the way.
Right, Bengals at the Jags. Really interesting game, this one. The Bengals looked half decent against the Colts last week, finally. The Jags are minus 4.5 point favourites. The line is set at 39.5. I mean, the last few meetings, and I know you went with the overs in this one initially, didn't you?
I've gone back to the overs again.
You want a historical thing here? The points on this particular game, Bengals at the Jags, it was 31, 13, 43, 50 and 37 points in the last few games in Jacksonville. So it would suggest that a historical trend would say it's going to be the overs. Cincinnati have won the last 4 meetings, mind you, and they've won the last 2 in Jacksonville.
I think you say Cincinnati have improved last week, but they were playing the Colts, and if they've got all sorts of trouble on their offensive line. I think I'm not sure they may. I think AJ Green's still pretty quite up there with in terms of receiving at the moment, but he's going against. He's going against the Jags, and he's going against the Jags. And look what they did to Pittsburgh. They've got to be running the ball if you want to beat the Jags.
Yep.
I'm not sure the offensive line is going to allow them to do that. So I'm going to pick the Jags minus 4.5. But I'm also going on the over because I think the Bengals have got some points in them. I'm not buying into this. They squeaked to win against the Colts. You know what I mean? And the Colts are not a good team this year. So
I don't. The one thing about Cincinnati is I don't like what they've done at the tackle position. They got rid of my man, who I'm not going to mention.
You've got to mention him. Sure.
Yeah.
We've just done the Rams game, so you have to
drop it again.
Andrew Whitworth.
There we go.
9 weeks running now. Thank you, chaps. That's a record. Andrew Whitworth has obviously gone to the Rams, and I'm not sure what they've done at the tackle position is the right thing at the moment. So Jags defence is monstrous. It's the one thing that's keeping them going. Blake Ball's good game manager, but that's not a bad thing. Well, let's take the Jags for me, minus the points.
It's 4.5's not normally you know, I like to anything over 3 I don't like, but I'm not buying the Bengals revival. Yep. So yeah, I agree with you. But speaking of receivers, I must admit I do owe Sam an apology from last Sunday after the game at Twickenham. We all went to the Orange Tree in Richmond to watch the Red Zone on the TV, and one of our affiliates from Real VIP Betting, Steve Goff, threw me a football. I reached up to grab it whilst talking to Sam, came down on the table, smashed the glasses, covered him head to foot.
You're not a wide receiver, you're a corner. I mean, it literally the swatted down.
I don't think I've got the height for anything in this game. But yeah, so I do owe Sam. He's laughing about it now, but his face as he was covered was
when the cameras are off, it's a different story. No, I'm going to agree with you guys there. I think after seeing Campbell join the Jaguars, we've seen a completely different team there. You know, I miss him still at the Cardinals, and I think we've seen the difference.
Best free agent signing this summer for me.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, and I think that's probably right.
And in the trade, they've improved the defence as well, haven't they? So so I mean, I think even though I've gone for the overs on that, I do think the Bengals will score something, and if they don't, I think there'll be plenty of turnovers as well. So you know,
fair enough. Last game we're going to have a look at, chaps, is the big one. Kansas City Chiefs at the Dallas Cowboys. It's a real monster of a game, this one. I mean, for Dallas, it's, you know, they got out of one last week where it sort of almost saved their season. If they had lost to the Redskins, that would be pretty much it, I think. But looking at the way the Philadelphia Eagles have been playing, they'd struggle to get a wild card. But they were 1-point favourites. It's now a pick'em, which is a really interesting one. I mean, the Cowboys' defensive line, it's actually really good. DeMarcus Lawrence, David Erskine, Taco Charlton's going to be a good player for them as well. Jalen Smith has given a really nice pass rush. So for me, the Cowboys' defence is good enough. And the Chiefs have only given up the ball once since it's the first game of the season. They've only had one turnover against them.
And that was Hunt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so
first play.
I think I like the Chiefs. I know you like the Cowboys in this. It's a pick 'em game. I think Elliott is a huge miss for Dallas. I think they're struggling against the run, and you know you don't want to be facing Kareem Hunt when you're against the run. I think Alex Smith is playing having the season of his life, and I think Dallas. I think they're like the 4th worst team in the league against tight end. Well, look at there's a tight end rolling into town that is scoring a lot of touchdowns at the moment.
Travis Kelce.
Yeah, and I think Travis Kelce. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a touchdown again. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs to pile pressure on to Garrett, the coach at Dallas. I still think Dallas have got a really good chance, even if they lose this game, making it into playoffs. And we forgot to mention last week when we were on the show, Dallas are a team that could go into Philly in the playoffs and beat Philly.
They've got a lot of home games coming up, Cowboys, at the moment.
I think the Cowboys have obviously got to now adjust their game. You might see Whitten obviously receive the ball a little bit more now with the running game kind of out the picture. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs. The only thing with Dallas for me is how smart they play football this week without Elliott. If they play a smart game, and as I say, you use a tight end probably a little bit more, not just because I've got him in my fantasy, but obviously
I've got him on my team. He's done nothing.
Yeah, so hopefully he might turn up for this one. But I'll go with the Chiefs. But I don't think there's going to be that many points, to be honest. They're 50.5. I don't think it'll be that much.
I think you're going to go the other way. I think it's going to go over. But that's
really?
just me. Yeah, I think high lines always take a high line. I
wouldn't touch it personally. But I don't think there'll be that.
Tipping point for me on this one with the Cowboys is the fact that they haven't played many games between these two. They've only played 10 games, all throughout the history.
Does that mean your
since
history
1970.
Stats?
No, it's a historical strat. No. The Chiefs. I found one. The Chiefs have never won in Dallas.
Did I see you in Appleton Comprehensive School back in 1986? I'm sure there was.
I never went to school.
Yeah.
I was always
sure
skiving.
there's something. Did you teach me?
If I went to school.
Did you teach me about the Peasants' Revolt or something like that? I can't remember, but yeah.
Well, these peasants are obviously revolting, so we're going to end the show on that note. I hope you've enjoyed the betting show. There'll be more other shows. There'll be other shows to have a look at. And keep with us on the SportsHeads. We'll see you next week.
American football and my hot cheerleaders. It'll make you feel like a Yank. RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.